President Buhari, Governor Dapo Abiodun laud re-election of Akinwumi Adesina as AFDB President. Ogun government takes COVID-19 preventive sensitization to rural communities as East lockdown continues. Federal government shifts resumption date of international flight to September the 5th. Hurricane Laurel hit U.S. state of Louisiana, damaged properties. All great truths begin as blasphemies.
And on sport news tonight, major U.S. sporting events called off over Jacob Blake shooting. I'll be back for more sporting stories much later on the news. My name is Moses Ojewumi. Stay with us.
And now to the news in full. Nigeria's Akinwumi Adesina has been re-elected as the president of the African Development Bank for a second 5-year term. The election took place electronically on Thursday at the virtual annual general meeting of the bank. Adesina's reappointment on Thursday at the helm of the 56-year-old bank is considered a formality as he is the sole candidate. In a speech at the African Development Bank's annual meeting, Adesina formally requested a second term as president, declaring that he was doing it with an acute sense of duty and commitment. President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday congratulated Akinwumi Adesina on his duty as president of the African Development Bank, AFDB. Adesina was unanimously returned as president earlier on Thursday during the bank's 55th annual meeting, which is being held virtually due to COVID-19 restrictions. In a statement signed by presidential spokesman Femi Adesina, President Buhari said news of the victory came during the Council of State meeting, which was attended by former heads of state, Senate President, governors, some ministers, and senior government officials. He deserves it, President Buhari said, leading a round of applause after Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, announced the good news to the Council. Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun has expressed happiness at the re-election of Dr. Akinwumi Adesina as president of the African Development Bank. According to Prince Abiodun, the re-elected president of AFDB is a brand ambassador of Ogun State, a man reputed for exceptional leadership and excellence. In a statement by his Chief Press Secretary, Kunle Shomori, Abiodun said he believed with the second term now secured, Dr. Adesina would further make Nigeria proud and Africa as a continent with tremendous growth in all spheres. He described him as a world-class public servant and an intellectual that puts a human face to the execution of pro-poor strategies that would impact on the development agenda of the continent. Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun has lauded the appointment of former Governor of Ogun State, Aremo Olusegun Oshoba, as chairman of the Governing Council of the Nigerian Institute of Journalism. In a statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Kunle Shomori, Governor Abiodun believes it as a true call to service and one suitable enough to be described as fitting a round peg in a round hole. Chief Oshoba, according to Governor, spent his most productive years as a respected member of the Fourth Estate and established a reputation for diligent and responsible journalism. In the statement also notes that even when not in active practice, Chief Oshoba still sees himself first as a reporter before anything else, whilst mentoring younger professionals with an enviable record of being a decorated administrator, statesman, and boardroom guru. Governor Abiodun further believes that with the appointment of Chief Olusegun Oshoba, he has no reservation in his leadership, capacity, and ability to reposition the Nigerian Institute of Journalism and by extension journalism training and practice. Chief Olusegun Oshoba, who will be assisted by Mr. Ray Epo as his deputy, is returning to the NIJ Governing Council chair, a position he occupied 30 years ago. He also has, to his credit, and known as a media manager who successfully managed 3 national dailies as managing director before his foray into politics. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of Colonel Mayland Dixon Dikio, retired as interim administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program. The appointment, according to a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, took effect from August 21st, 2020. The immediate past coordinator of the amnesty program, Professor Charles Dokubo, has been directed to hand all official matters of the office over to the most senior officer of the program. President Buhari has approved the appointment of Colonel Mayland Dixon Dikio, retired as interim administrator, amnesty program, with effect from August 21st, 2020. This followed the president's approval of the disengagement of Professor Charles Dokubo from office as the coordinator, amnesty program, with immediate effect. Professor Dokubo has been directed to hand over all official matters to the most senior officer in the program. President Buhari appreciated the services of Professor Dokubo to the Federal Republic of Nigeria and wished him the best in his future endeavors. Away from that, Ogun State House of Assembly
proposing the 6 bills to the legislative arm, stating that such became necessary in view of the dire impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the nation's economy.
Ogun State House of Assembly has passed a resolution recommending the immediate review of the State Executive and Board of Trustees of all transport unions and associations to reflect the principle of Federal Character Commission towards ensuring the fair and geographical spread of all positions in the recompense. The passage of the resolution was sequel to the presentation of a report of the Tripartite Ad Hoc Committee on Illegal Revenue Collection and Fake Ticketing by the Chairman and Deputy Speaker, Honorable Oludare Kadiri, at a plenary held at the Assembly Complex, Okimoso, Abeokuta. House of Assembly correspondent Kola Wole Osho covered the plenary, and his report is presented in this package.
The final report of the Ad Hoc Committee on Illegal Revenue Collection and Fake Ticketing in the state was read by the Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the committee, Honorable Oludare Kadiri, at a plenary presided over by Speaker Right Honorable Olakunle Oluomo. Kadiri thereafter moved the motion for the passage of the resolution, seconded by the Majority Leader, Honorable Yusuf Sharif, and supported by other lawmakers who equally sought for the suspension of alleged illegal collection of revenue by some local government councils through illegal agents, calling for the composition of a task force comprising of all ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs of government, as well as security agencies to monitor all revenue points.
The staff, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment are to take up collection of revenue at all times pending the contracting of the revenue collection to well articulated process for monitoring and managing revenue repatriations and in keeping with due process and the last, to avoid the monopoly of revenue collection. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment should reorganize fair distribution of revenue collection across the three sectoral districts.
Everything we are doing, we must follow the Constitution on principle of federal character. No matter what, if we have organizations that are running in the state, we should make sure that the leadership of such organizations represents every section of the state. We are all stakeholders in the state. We should make sure that that comes to play.
The resolution further requested for the centralization of the printing of tickets, as agreed upon by stakeholders at their previous meetings, to be handled by the State Printing Corporation, while directing the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment to recognize fair distribution of revenue collection across the three senatorial districts to avoid monopoly in revenue collection. In another development, the Assembly has invited the striking doctors under the auspices of the Nigerian Medical Association, Olabisi Onabanjo Teaching Hospital, Untitled Chapter, for a dialogue on Monday, 31st August 2020 at 2 p.m. to finding a lasting solution to the 6-week strike by members. Speaker Right Honorable Olakunle Oluomo made the remarks while responding to the petition by the members of the NMA, as submitted by a member representing Yewa North 1 State Constituency and the Chairman, House Committee on Health, Honorable Adegoke Adeoju, before the Assembly, saying the Assembly was irrevocably committed to ensuring industrial harmony for a peaceful working environment in the state tertiary health sector.
It is the duty of this House to intervene in a matter like this. So because of that, I use this opportunity to invite a meeting with principal officers of this House on Monday in the afternoon by 2 o'clock. The members of the NMA in Ogun State, representative of the staff, of the doctors that are on strike at OUT, intervene in the matter. I so order.
The Speaker added that meeting will have in attendance the State Head of Service, Commissioner for Health, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Health, and representatives of the striking union at the instance of the principal officers of the Assembly with a view to resolving issues leading to the strike owing to the critical importance of the sector to the state.
The Ogun State Internal Revenue Service has continued its revenue generation drive with the enforcement exercise of road taxes, which allows motorists necessary documents for the vehicles. Elizabeth Esson, a report.
Road taxes are integral revenue being generated by governments to further render social economic services to the generality of the people. Today, Ogun State, under the current administration of Prince Dakwa Abiodun, has not shied away from using taxpayers' funds in implementing developmental projects. Against this backdrop, the State Internal Revenue Service
expired document, vehicle particulars, validating driver's license. From my discovery on this exercise, we have discovered that about 70% of our motorists there are without valid driver's license. And people do claim I'm a driver. I can drive without any license that permits you to drive on the highway. My plea is for people to come around and get these things done in our offices.
According to the officials, will continue with the enforcement exercise until all motorists realize and understand the necessity of playing their part in the provision of infrastructure in the state by paying their taxes regularly. Elizabeth Esson, Ogtv News.
The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other-Related Offences Commission has arrested 25 officials of Vehicle Inspection Office, Federal Road Safety Corps, Motor Vehicle Licensing Authority, and other persons in connection with driving license and vehicle plate. The operation, which was carried out in collaboration with the Department of State Services and FRSC, was conducted in Ikeja, Shomolu, Etiosa, and Antony license centers. Other places were Ojo, Oshodi, University of Lagos, Surulere, Agege, and Coca centers, all in Lagos. The ICPC spokesperson, Azuka Oguga, disclosed this in a statement in Abuja on Thursday that the commission received information that the officials conveyed with touts to extort extra fees from applicants before driving licenses and vehicle particulars were processed. According to the statement titled, ICPC nabbed 25 suspected driving license fraudsters. Various sums of money and several incriminating documents and equipment were received from the officials have, however, been granted administrative bail. Welcome back. The Ogun State government has installed and presented instruments of appointment and staff of office to Obade Dotun Oduneye Odusoya as the new Odushelu Alaro in Ijebu Northeast local government area of the state. Governor Dakwa Abiodun, while presenting the staff of office to the new Oba, charged him to use his wealth of experience to improve the lot of his people and Ijebu land at large, advising that it should not betray the truth the entire people of Odushelu Alaro entrusted in him when they made him their choice. Represented by Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Honorable Afolabi Afuakwe, Governor Abiodun said Obas in Yoruba land wield great influence, power and authority in their various domains. He enjoined the new Kabiyesi to take advantage of the royal throne to fast-track development activities in the interest of the people, as this would be seen that he has stamped his footprint in the sand of time.
Witnessing today is therefore the last stage of a process that complies strictly with the requirement of relevant section of the chief laws laws of the state, Nigeria 2006, the registered declaration as well as the custom and condition of produce cellular community. This is why our gathering here today is so important. It's on this note that I want to congratulate our new Oba Oduselaru, Oba Adedoju Odusoya, the hardships and the entire people of Oduselaru. On this special occasion, they write the new Olu of Oduselaru on the throne of his forefather. As one of the organized chieftains approved by the State Executive Council in the past few weeks, the appointment of Oba Adedoju Odusoya had the overwhelming support of his people. It's on this premise that I wish to appeal to our great party to shout their support, embrace peace and unite with the candidates in order to move Oduselaru forward.
In the same vein, Ogun State government has said it will continue to count on the support of traditional councils and the people of the state in implementing its agendas. Governor AKWA Abiodun stated this at the installation and presentation of instruments of appointment and staff of office to the new Bejiroku of Okiagbo, Oba Adeleke Adekoya in Ijebu North-East local government area, said his administration realized the fact that traditional institutions and its leadership must be properly positioned as they serve as bridge between the people at the grassroots and the government. In his acceptance speech, Oba Adeleke Adekoya appreciated the state government for believing in him, promising that it would not undermine the trust that has been entrenched in him. Oba Adeleke said his community has concluded plans to embark on aggressive tree planting with permission from the state government in order to revamp the depleting state of their forest areas. As government reopens socio-economic activities, Nigerians have been admonished not to throw caution into the wind but obey all the coronavirus pandemic precautionary measures in order to remain safe. The Ogun State Sensitization Special Assistant to the Governor on Agriculture, Dr. Angel Adelaja Kuye, Special Assistant on Health, Dr. Ololade Kehinde, and Special Assistant on Inter-Ethnic Affairs, Prince Hadi Sani, gave the admonition during their sensitization visit on COVID-19 to a market in Ogun West Senatorial District. Kunle Kunle's report is presented in this package.
Addressing the traders at Ibeshi and Olodo Arewa community markets in Ogun West Senatorial District on COVID-19, the Special Assistant to the Governor on Health, Dr. Ololade Kehinde, says vaccines are yet to be discovered and it is imperative for people to continually obey the precautionary measures, just as Senior Special Assistant on Agriculture, Dr. Angel Adelaja Kuye, enjoins them to embrace government's programs on agriculture in the state.
And also, when sometimes the key to adequate survival is when you pick the signs quite early. When you pick the signs quite early, for example, if someone has fever, if someone has inability to breathe very well, if you notice that somebody has coughing, somebody is having difficulty with smelling things, then or sore throat, then you know that that individual, generally, the person is feeling weak. In this period of time, it's not the time for us to just keep the person at home or to just give the person herbs. It's the time for us to seek medical attention.
Or farming directly. And so for those who are interested in that, the Ministry of Agriculture has many benefits for those people in the agriculture value chain. We have the Anchor Borrowers program for the youth. That program is not just cassava. We have maize, we have rice, we have cattle, we have poultry, we have fishery. That program, His Excellency has said that his job is to make sure that he links you to access to land, access to money to be able to farm.
Fielding questions from Arewa community market leaders, the Special Assistant to the Governor on Inter-Ethnic Affairs, Prince Hadi Sani, assures them that the leadership of Governor AKWA Abiodun will continually carry them along in the policies of the state.
As a listening government, whatever your requests are, we will surely relate it back to the necessary quarters and make sure the necessary quarters look into it and get back to you in due course.
At every market visited, face masks were distributed to the traders in order to curtail the spread of the deadly coronavirus.
The Ogun State artisans across the state have signified their full support for government intervention on certification of their trainees and accreditation of their workshop as training centers in line with global best practices and fit in appropriately into the labor market. The artisans made the submission at an interactive meeting with the Special Advisor on Technical Education, Professor Joseph Odemuyiwa, held at Leisure Bay Grammar School, Idiaba, Abeokuta, the state capital. In a submission, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Technical Education, Professor Joseph Odemuyiwa, explained that the certification of the artisans would be done by the State Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. The scheme would also help to overcome inferiority complex among more formally and informally trained artisans and technicians. Odemuyiwa intimated that Governor Dapo Abiodun is keen on the welfare of artisans and their craftsmanship. President Association of Hairdressers, Mrs. Fumi Okunkoya, and Chairman, Association of Motor Mechanic, Mr. Ambrose Adedeji, appreciated the state government for the new initiative while urging the government to allow them train some of their technical students on practical aspects at their workshop for a comprehensive knowledge of their formal training. They implored the state government to accommodate their services at the state level in all technical aspects, noting that they are fit for building construction, engineering, electrical, carpentry. Special Advisor to the Ogun State Governor on Primary and Secondary Education, Mrs. Ronkesho Yombo, while featuring on Ogtv discussion program, Democratic Part, says that the pathetic state of dilemma the country's educational system has found itself can be tackled through collaborative effort. According to her, there should be more concentration on the psychological and motivational aspects of the younger ones in order to increase literacy level in them.
All those things added a lot of qualities to us, because as at that time we were being laid the right foundation, and that's an area that people have neglected now. Children between ages 0 to 6 not having enough good education, that means the foundation is wrongly laid already. Why is it that 45% of students are not finishing SS3? Has anybody looked into that? Because if they're not finishing, why is it that they're not finishing? What is actually making them to derail? We've got to look at that. Where are the role models?
And in respect to the aftermath of COVID-19 on the education sector, Mrs. Choyombo speaks on measures taken by the state government in tackling the situation.
Our theme says, goodbye yesterday. Goodbye yesterday means all the things that we did under leadership yesterday, unfortunately, will not work for today's education. And that's why we want to change the mindset. We want to tell people how to manage resources, and not only that, how to use technology to actually bring your lesson to life.
Provision of infrastructure training of staff and proper funding were also highlighted as ways to complement federal government intervention programs such as homegrown feeding program to increase children's education interest. The new executive members of Nigerian Red Cross Society, Ewekoro Division, have been encouraged to always work in line with the principles of the society to serve humanity. The Ogun State Secretary of the Society, Aboyade Oluwole, stated this during the inauguration of the executive and investiture of the patron, Honorable Emmanuel Babayemi, at Ewekoro Local Government Secretariat, Itori. Yusuf Ganiyu reports.
The Nigerian Red Cross Society was established through an Act of Parliament in 1960 with a focus to reduce the number of deaths, injuries and impact from disasters, as well as promote respect for diversity and human dignity, among others. The inauguration of executive members of the Nigerian Red Cross Society, Ewekoro Division, which climaxed with investiture of its new patron, Honorable Emmanuel Babayemi, Chairman, Transition Committee of Ewekoro Local Government Area, is to continue to work in tandem with the fundamental principles of the society. It was emphasized that the society's objective is to relieve human sufferings and to develop potentials among youths, thereby complementing the efforts of government.
The mission of the society is to elevate the situation of the vulnerable people, which include those affected by disasters, epidemic, armed conflicts, and the poorest community in both urban and rural areas, among who are women, children, aged, and disabled.
Serving humanity and ensuring that we assist the government of the day in ensuring that our people are safe where we have accidents, and at the end of it all, we also want to contribute. We want to, pay back to the society.
All of us should be voluntary attacked. We should be ready to render our assistance. Then unity, we should all be united. Universality, Red Cross is one everywhere.
The State Secretary, Nigerian Red Cross Society, Aboyade Oluwole, advises the new executive members to take cognizance of the objectives of the society.
They have the 7 fundamental principles in their brain: humanity, impartiality, neutrality, independence, voluntary service. The one I want to key into is that voluntary service. For people to come to your aid, you must come up first. And you must be ready to show that you are there. You are there. They've been doing it, and I want to believe they will still continue to do it.
An office of the Nigerian Red Cross Society, Ewekoro Division, was thereafter inaugurated in the council. Yusuf Ganiyu, Ogtv News.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, has approved the payment of stipends to the exited NPAR beneficiaries. A statement by the Minister's Special Assistant, Nneka Nkem Nnebeze, on Thursday reveals that the approval has been given for the payment of the outstanding stipends for the exited NPAR Batch A and Batch B beneficiaries. The statement further revealed that the only outstanding approval has been forwarded to the Accountant General Office for the payment of July stipend for Batch B beneficiaries. Former Nigeria's Green Eagles captain and winner of the 1980 Africa Cup of Nations, Patrick Olusegun Odegbami, who was born in Abeokuta on the 27th of August 1952, made name for himself in the round ladder game. Ogtv News in this report takes a look at the life and time of the Nigerian football legend, who was twice nominated for African Best Player for CAF Player of the Year award. Shindori Makoju's report is presented in this package.
The opponent's goal area, Shegun there, doing his mesmerism. A brilliant.
Nicknamed Mathematical for his precise style of play, Patrick Olusegun Odegbami was born on the 27th of August 1952 and today attains the age of 68. Odegbami was brought up in northern city of Jos, Plateau State.
In Jos, the streets were big and wide, no television, no radio, so the only things you could do were outdoor, running and playing truancy.
He was famous for running down the touchline with the ball to prevent it from the reach of his opponents. Regarded as one of the greatest Nigerian players of all time, he won 46 caps and scored 23 goals for the national team, and also guided it to its first Africa Cup of Nations title at the 1980 tournament.
That's Odegbami, and it's in the net. It is
Odegbami was famous for his skills on the ball, speed, and precision of his crosses from the right wing. He played for ISC Shooting Stars of Ibadan in his entire career from 1970 to 1984. His last game was the 19th defeat to Zamalek of Egypt.
One is the night we won the Africa Cup of Nations. That was the first time Nigeria would be winning it. And we won it in Lagos. And Nigeria was football crazy at the time. But for me, the greatest was on the day when we played, it was football related too. We played the finals of the FA Cup in the morning in Lagos, here in Lagos also. And we won the game. After we won that game, from the field of play, I was lifted high up in the air by spectators.
The mechanical engineering graduate of the Polytechnic Ibadan attained the greatest height even beyond Nigeria. Thrice, Segun Odegbami was shortlisted for Africa's Best Footballer Award.
Takes a very good chip, waiting for a mistake, and a good one. Segun Odegbami, and he puts it in there again.
The global market is currently witnessing higher demand as most of the continents have adopted work-from-home policy and the use of virtual reality for events, owing to the rule of social distancing by the COVID-19 affected countries to avoid the spread of the disease. Though the current trend of virtual reality is helping to shape the future of events by merging the physical and digital world to offer the best, there may be tendencies that it is deteriorating human physical connections as the world is getting addicted using it. In this special report, Muyolu Ajayi takes a look at antisocial tendencies of virtual world after COVID-19. Our report is presented from our studios.
Technology is advancing digitally and simulating gatherings by rapidly transforming the communications landscape, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, through virtual reality. Virtual reality has paved the way for businesses and corporates to connect with employees and partners using digital platforms.
Virtual meeting can be defined as the interaction on an online program in which people interact online. It can be used by using audio, video.
When you use the word virtual meeting, sometimes we cannot really say it's the best, but when you don't have alternative like the period we find ourselves, but to some level, with the virtual meeting, we are doing things that we want to do.
Recently, there has been a surge in the number of online real-time and additionally reduced the rate of social conventions, facets of lives, and ineffective self-presentation behaviors after COVID-19 pandemic.
The aftermath event can be something relating to antisocial, that people will no longer see reason whereby they should gather in a physical location and have a physical contact. Since it's virtually and everything is actually recorded, people might even have to be selective in their choice of words, you see, because they know, okay, people can actually use it against me in the future.
What worries people is the effect that technology could be having on their lives. And what I mean by that is people get worried about their children texting too much, and that possibly they're losing the ability to communicate with each other face to face.
I personally do not believe that visual reality has that hold over people. I don't think visual reality has the power to change people's character. If you're antisocial before the whole pandemic started and all that, you will continue to be antisocial after the pandemic ends.
Respondents therefore emphasize on the measures to be put in place.
The technology doesn't really care if it's being used or not. And so what we're trying to do is have a much broader cultural conversation about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Okay, what I will say about the emergence of visual reality is that it is something that has come to stay with us. It is a good thing. We bless God for the emergence of visual reality. And I believe that it is something that will continually stay even after the whole pandemic is over.
The message to you is remain curious. Think critically. How is this really an addictive behaviour? The reason that it's really important to get that balance right is if we do become too negative, and we do believe that all this stuff is having such a negative impact on our lives, we run the risk of stifling the very innovations that we can all think about off the top of our heads that have transformed our lives for the better.
In order not to become obsessed with the fantasy of the virtual reality and not to neglect interpersonal relationships or physical environment, respondents called on society to make use of the platforms wisely.
The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons has rescued at least 132 victims of human trafficking in Akwa Ibom State in the last 8 months. The agency's Director General, Dame Oka Donli, said this on Thursday in Uyo, the state capital, while fielding questions from newsmen at a media briefing during our official visit to the state. She NAPTIP in Akwa Ibom State has rescued 132 human trafficking victims. 40 of them were rescued from sex exploitation, 28 were from baby sellers, 23 from labor exploitation, while the remaining were for other. Flood disaster has rendered hundreds of people homeless in 15 local governments out of the 34 local councils in Katsina State. Alhaji Babangida Nasamu, the Executive Secretary of the State Emergency Management Agency, disclosed this to newsmen on Thursday in Katsina. Nasumu said that the affected local government areas are Dutsi, Daura, Sandamu, Katsina, Faskari, Damasu local government area. Others include Danja, Kusada, Jibia, Katia, Ungawa, Kankia, and Bindawa. Nasamu disclosed that the people affected by the flood were accommodated in primary schools and other public buildings in the area. He said that the 15 affected local governments were only those that reported the disaster to the agency by the local government authorities. The Secretary disclosed that the agency has received a report from individuals whose houses were also affected by the flood disaster. FAN laments 95% revenue fall, commences new service charge. Up next is business news.